Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome here to the launch pad. My name's Zach. I'm the host here of the launch pad, and welcome to our live launch coverage of the Astra Rocket 3 with the mission STP 27AD2. A little bit of an update. We've had another delay in the count, so we are going to be live for a little bit before we expect to see any live views of the rockets. Tonight, we want to give a big thank you to NASA Spaceflight as well as Astra Space Inc. for their footage and access to today's stream. Make sure you go check out both of their accounts on Twitter and on YouTube and subscribe to them. We're here offering our live commentary and analysis of today's launch. Be a little bit different of a stream here as we expect them to go live about an hour before liftoff. We've already had a few delays here this evening, and we do not know why, but we will be continuing the going from there. 2 minutes ago, we had an update from Astra that the clock is being held at T-minus 60 minutes and counting, and we are awaiting an update for that. So we're going to be here for the next little bit, but take a moment and let us know in the chat where you're watching from. We'd love to welcome you all here in. If this is your first time here to the Launchpad, welcome. Again, my name is Zach. Here at the Launchpad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow. We believe explorers can be both here on Earth and up in space, and we believe space is better together. So we invite you to be part of our crew by engaging in the chat, hitting that subscribe button, joining our Discord if you're interested. The link is down below, and we'd love to connect with you as well. We'll run through a little bit of the statistics of today's launch and what we're expecting, and then we'll go into your guys' live comments and questions. So if you have a comment or question, there's a really easy way to have those read out on the stream here today. Just send it in the chat, tag us at the Launchpad, and of course, if it's appropriate, it might just be read right here on the stream. But breaking down a little bit about today's mission, this is the second launch for Astra of 2021. I believe we all remember the first. It was quite an interesting one to watch. The fourth launch of the Astra 3 rocket, and this is the second commercial launch for Astra. So there is a paying payload on board. Today's payload will be launching from Launch Pad 3B at the Pacific Spaceport Complex in Kodiak, Alaska. Payload will be launching to about 415 kilometers in low Earth orbit at an inclination of 70 degrees. Astra is not a reusable rocket, so the remains of it will crash into the Pacific Ocean. We are keeping a live look on the weather as well. A couple of things happening tonight. There is a almost total lunar eclipse happening for those of us in North America and in the Pacific Ocean regions, as well as there are some aurora alerts happening as well. So a busy evening for us. We got lots of people joining in the chat. We've got passing wind from Jacksonville. We got the real YouTube Southwest Texas. Alan's over in Ohio. Marcus is in Texas. We got another Marcus in Florida. John's in Alaska. Wolf's in Argentina. Ottawa, New Zealand. Fort Worth, Texas. Abilene, Texas. Colorado. Great to have you all here in the chat and staying with us for today's coverage. We hope to hear an updated T0 time. We are still sitting at T-minus 60 minutes and holding until this evening's launch, and we are unsure at this time why. Originally, the launch was scheduled for about 10 p.m. Pacific time, 6 a.m. UTC, but that has obviously been delayed up to about an hour at this point. So, got a little bit of time until that liftoff occurs, or maybe a scrub. But we want to hear from you. There's a pinned poll in the live chat. What do you think will happen with the Astra launch? We've got 4 options for you: scrub, failure on the pad or during liftoff, failure during flight, or a successful launch and deployment, which is what we are all hoping for. We're seeing your guys' current results. 17% of you think it's going to scrub. 5% think it's going to fail on the pad or during the liftoff. 17% during the flight, but 61% of you are there thinking we're going to have a successful launch and deployment here this evening. So that will be what we are all hoping for. Know a number of people asking where is this launch occurring from. We'll be able to pull that up here on the screen for you guys. Today they are launching out of Kodiak, Alaska. So this is up in the northwestern North America. We'll zoom this out for you guys to have an idea where that's launching from. Here's Kodiak. and we'll bring that out, give you an idea where they're actually launching from in North America. Launching into an inclination of 70 degrees, the small sat launcher will hopefully have its first truly successful mission, carrying a payload for the U.S. Space Force. This is the second launch of 2 test launches that the Department of Defense ordered with Astra, with the 4th attempt not fully reaching their orbit and having payload deployment. So we are hoping today goes well for them. Justin, thank you so much for that to super chat there. Appreciate it. Great to always see you in the chat. John, do we have a current site view? We do not. We're expecting to get access to a live view of the site, or at least occasionally, from T-minus 60 minutes and counting. And right now we are at T-minus 60 minutes and holding. So we are keeping a close eye on that and hope that we will be able to get that view here shortly. Also with an update from Astra. At this time, the last update we had was that they are currently holding at T-minus 60 minutes. But no reason given. Marcus is in the chat. Just want to say I really appreciate everything y'all are doing at the Launchpad. Hopefully one day we can all be watching a stream in space. That would be amazing, Marcus. Thanks for hanging out here. Really do appreciate it. While they will pull up here is the weather conditions. Ooh, these are a little... Can we squish these in here for you guys? There we go. These are the weather conditions for the Pacific Spaceport Complex. As of 7:29:55 p.m., so just a few seconds ago. So weather conditions looking good for a liftoff attempt here this evening, but we're not unsure why there would be a delay here this evening. Zach, can we launch it sideways this time? We hope not. We hope this time it just goes straight up. That is definitely the objective of a rocket, but maybe it goes sideways and goes up as well. We'll see what happens. Casey Street saying still can't get used to the name Space Force. I really like it. I kind of we're entering a new age. He had to bring the launch button pusher in to warm up his fingers. Hey, Liberty, do get to see you. Ronnie's asking, is this a dummy payload you're assuming? No, this is a real payload that is on board. They will be carrying... it is a classified payload, but we don't know all that much. It might be a mass simulator, which is what they had put on the first of the 2 test missions. Probably with what happened with the first mission, they would have done that again. Put another mass simulator on board, but if they wanted to, they could have put a true payload on board. This was the second of the 2 demo missions for the Space Force. Catching up on your guys' Conan, Liberty do tell us our future again. Yes, Liberty do let us know when we're gonna resume the count like you did the other time. That was fantastic. We do have a second launch window later on if they do need to delay this launch for any reason, and we'll get that details when they occur. A little bit of a rundown of what we would expect during the mission countdown and timeline. T-minus 1 hour, 15 minutes until liftoff. That's when the pre-launch procedures begin. Propellant loading, T-minus 45 minutes, so very identical to a Falcon 9, even though this is a much smaller rocket. Propellant load completes at T-minus 20 minutes. Terminal count, T-minus 15. The water deluge system activates a test at T-minus 15 minutes as well. So they do a quick test of it. Ignition at T-minus 3 seconds with liftoff. You have a begin pitchover maneuver 12 seconds into flight with max Q at T plus 1 minute 15 seconds. We have fairing separation 2 minutes 55 seconds into flight with stage separation just 5 seconds later. Second stage, of course, will ignite shortly after, with second stage cutting off T plus 8 minutes 20 seconds into flight, followed immediately by payload deployment signal. So a very quick launch sequence, just 8 minutes 30 seconds for the payload test here today. But that is the rocket. This is the fifth iteration of the third version of the small sat launcher from Astra. It is an orbital rocket series that they aim to have be able to go bring 50 kilometers to a 500-kilometer sun synchronous orbit. This will be very competitive to the Rocket Lab Electron that we watched launch yesterday. The rocket's height, 13.1 meters or 43 feet, with a diameter of 1.32 meters or 43 feet, with that payload capacity, as I said, of 50 kilometers. So quite a interesting rocket, very similar to what we see with the Electron and its capacity. So we do hope to see that go well and that this be able to come online. We did also hear that Astra has officially been signed a deal to be able to launch out of Cape Canaveral, Florida, from Launch Complex 36, I believe it is where they will be building a complex there. So they are definitely wanting to advance and be able to start launching these from multiple launch locations for their providers, opening up a small sat launch option here in North America. If you're just joining us, though, welcome here to the launch pad. You're watching our live coverage of today's Astra mission. Again, we want to thank NASA Spaceflight and Astra Space for the footage that we're hoping to see a little bit later. We have had a delay in today's count. About 15 minutes ago, Astra confirmed that we are holding at T-minus 60 minutes and holding. We haven't had an update as of yet, so we're hanging out, answering your guys' live comments, questions. So you make sure you can send those in the chat. Tag us at the Launchpad, and we'll continue answering those. And if we get to the point where we don't have any more questions or updates, we'll take a quick pause. Stream will stay live. We'll turn up the tunes, and we'll wait until we have some updates. But at this time, let's see some of those questions, and let's see where you guys are tuning in from. We got people all over the world. Miriam's in Las Vegas. We've got Alberio, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, in the UK. We got Kevin in Pennsylvania. Pesky Bears over in the UK. Lots of UK in here tonight. Great to have you all here. Justin's in the Philippines. Patio's in Southwest Oregon. Lots of you joining in, so it's great to have you all here this evening. Nysar, you want the things on my shelf? Almost all of them you can get, so stay tuned for our new website launching soon. That is going to have a lot of the links and connections where you guys will be able to get stuff, as well as possibly some discount codes from some of our partners. But we know it's the holiday season, and some of you are already holiday shopping. Take a moment while we wait. We've got some time. Head on over to our Etsy shop, etsy.com/shop/thelaunchpadshop. We've just released a whole bunch of new stuff, including our holiday collection. We got a baby collection, got an international collection, a bunch of new stuff. So take a moment, check that out. Also, even if you're not ordering today, hit favorite store. You'll get notified if there's ever sales or anything. If there's a certain product you like and you want to wait till we do a sale, you can favorite that item. It's a really great platform there. So take a moment, check that out. We also want to give a shout out to Richie, who I see is in the chat. Richie and his family, congratulations on your newborn. We are so excited that he has arrived safely and that the family's doing well, and we hope you guys are getting home there soon. But we're glad to see you in the chat here tonight. Richie was literally at the hospital yesterday waiting for the baby to come and was in the chat. So super cool that you're still here, and glad everything's going well, and thanks for keeping us updated over in the Discord with some cute photos as well. So if you want to see the cute photos, join the Discord. Matthew, thank you for the live coverage yesterday and today for covering launches not covered by other channels. Tuning in from Fort Myers, Florida. Thanks, Matthew. Appreciate having you here. Joe, you think the SpaceX helmet is 3D printed? It is, but it does fit. I can wear it. So occasionally it comes out during Crew Dragon missions. Are you a video of the lunar eclipse? Hello from Ontario. I don't have any unfortunate live view here. We don't have a clear enough view at the last time I checked. But we'll see if we can get one as the evening goes on. I know there are a few other channels that do have some cameras out around the world bringing some great footage of that, so you can check those out. CD Builds, where's that SpaceX helmet from? I wish I knew. I actually won it and was gifted it in a contest in relation to some of the Inspiration 4 stuff. So I don't even know where it's from, but we are working on seeing if we can bring one to you guys on the Launchpad shop here in the near future. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much. Appreciate those of you that are subscribing. If you are new, it does really help us out. Here at the Launchpad, we do cover everything space. So all the launches, starbase testing, exclusive interviews, and we do a space news updates as there is breaking news, a weekly flash update covering some of the biggest stories, and we've got a brand new show launching in just a couple of weeks. We're super excited that I'll be joined by Ian for this new show. We'll be announcing the name and the time in a couple of days. But it's going to be a brand new 60 to 90 minute weekly show, same time every week. You guys can come in. We'll be covering everything space, everything coming up in the upcoming weeks, and then, of course, taking your guys' live comments and questions as a big part of it. We want you guys sending in your guys' story ideas, your questions, and those are going to be what determine what our main stories are for each week. So stay tuned on how you guys can be part of those future shows. Everyone wants the background. I know it's a good background. I worked hard on it. Someone on YouTube show you how to my space. Where did you get the Falcon 9 and the Crew Dragon? So we'll just do a quick run through. Why not? Bohimzo on Etsy. This is difficult. Also Bohimzo on Etsy. This is Lego. Lego. A gift. SpaceX. NASA Kennedy Space Center shop. NASA shop. A T-Rex thousands and thousands of years ago. I'm not kidding. Yes, that does say Starliner. I know. It was $4. Couldn't say no. The Falcon 9s from our good friends over at Starship Balls. There is a Falcon Heavy off to the side that you guys can't see. That you'll see during our news updates. And then we have some stuff from our friends at Inspiration 4. And a shuttle from when I was like 4. So lots of different things. There's another whole shelf over here that you guys can't see with some other stuff on it, but lots of stuff there. Let's see if we have any updates from Astra, as I know we're all here for the launch coverage. There's still no updates, still holding at that T-minus 60 minutes at this point. $4. So much rocket news. I know, Steven. There's so much. We try to cover some of the other stuff, so we do try to cover all the important hearings, FAA reviews, things like that as well, that are pretty important in the way the space industry is going. So we hope you join us for those as well. I think what we're going to do, since we're having a little bit of a pause, I see that PSB photo. Awesome. How? Are you in the Discord or on Twitter? You can drop one of those links or DM me on Discord. That would be, yeah, we'd love to connect with you and see what we can do. Thanks so much. Too foggy in here in California coast. Are they really going to scrub like they did last time? It's possible. I mean, we didn't know they were officially doing this until really earlier today is when they confirmed it. Hey, Matt, good to see you. Yes, enthusiast. So right now we're holding at T-minus 60 minutes and holding. We don't have any updates at this. I guess what I can do is we can make an update for on the screen here. This is what we do when we are live and there are delays. But let's make a quick update here. You guys have questions, you can keep sending those in the chat. We'll continue answering them for a little bit here. And they can be related to today's flight or other flights. lots of stuff happening in the space industry over the last couple of days, and of course, counting down to some very historic flights here in the near future. Okay, quick graphic here, guys. Sorry, bear with me. One man show tonight. Other dope. How many times has Astra, I believe it's scrubbed? Um, and are they still trying to figure things out? It's a really great question for it. Scrubs, we don't really have a full number on that they've done, but we can run through some of the early testing of Rocket 3, which is what they are currently testing. This would be the 5th rocket launch attempt of the rocket. Rocket 3.0, they had a loss of the vehicle during a ground test due to a leak when a valve stuck open while they were detanking the vehicle. Rocket 3.1, they had the flight termination or FTS system activated 21 seconds into flight due to a software issue in the guidance system. Rocket 3.2 failed to achieve orbit by just 500 meters a second due to the mixture of fuel and oxidizer being incorrect in the second stage. Rocket 3.3, the one most of us have seen, was terminated 2 minutes 31 seconds into flight after it went whee to the side, and because it experienced a failure a second after ignition due to a leaky fuel and oxidizer point in the supply system, better known as a quick disconnect at the base of the rocket. So hopefully 5th time is the charm. That's what we're hoping to see here this evening. The rocket itself is a 2-stage rocket powered by RP-1 and LOX. I see that question in there as well. The first stage uses 5 electric pump-fed Delphin engines that create a thrust of 32,500 pounds at liftoff. The second stage is powered by a single pressure-fed Aether engine that produces 740 pounds of thrust in vacuum. Excuse me. We don't know a whole lot about the rocket. Astra does keep a lot of stuff quite quiet in their development. They are planning on doing a lot more military launches as well, which is quite common to not really have full details until they are either fully operational, or they may not release them unless you are actually a customer and really get some of those details. So we have requested a sales packet to see if we can get some more details about those. We do that with a number of the agencies that offer them, because sometimes they just give us a little bit better idea what can be all carried from it. But be very interesting to see. Matthew, I was just at KSE and they were paying people to take the Starliner shirts from the gift shop because they've been on the shelf for too many years. I didn't see any shirts. I'll be honest, I got a hat and 2 mugs, and I used them. But I mean, you can't go wrong. $4 for a Starliner mug, or if you want one with any other company on it or just the NASA logo, like 25 to 40. So yes, $4. It's like 5, but then as a member you get like more off. So get that membership; it helps. But great to have you all here. We are still sitting at that T-minus 60 minute and holding. We'll see if we have any other updates from Astra at this time, but currently we are not seeing anything from that. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to take a quick pause. We're not going to go anywhere. The live stream is going to stay up, but we are going to be taking a quick pause in our live commentary. I'm going to jump over, check in with our Discord community, see how you guys are doing. If you guys want to join the Discord, you totally can. We are hanging out over in live comms, and you can press that link. If you guys want to help support what we do, you guys can click that join button or become a Patreon member. And if you do that, you can go behind the scenes at the launch pad, the live video updates while we're editing our videos, get early script access, lots of different things. So you can check those out and see those different tier options. And we appreciate your guys' support in that way. All that goes into our funds to make sure we can have all of our team on the ground when we need to for some of these big events, as well as launching our Starbase and other launch and recovery site cams that we are working on. We've got a couple different sites in development and excited to share 4 of those as well. We do have another 30-minute at least delay now for the launch attempt here, so we do have a bit of time for that. So we're going to stay live, active in the chat. We're going to be on the Discord as well. I'm going to take a quick audio break and get a lozenge, and we will be back with you guys in just a few minutes. But stay with us right here on the Launchpad for our live launch coverage of Astra and their 5th launch attempt of the Astra Rocket 3. So stay with us. Well, welcome back everyone here to the launch pad. You're watching our live coverage of Astra and their fifth orbital attempt of their Astra 3 rocket. We had a little bit of a break there as we waited for some more updates from Astra as they had entered a T minus 60 minutes and holding. 27 minutes ago, we did get that update as we put on screen there that we are go for propellant load with an updated T0 now of 10:20 p.m. Pacific, 6:20 a.m. UTC. For those over on the East Coast, that's 1:20 a.m. For you. So we are still a go for tonight's launch attempt. They're still progressing the clock. We're hoping to have some live views here thanks to NASA Spaceflight and Astra Space for the footage they are providing this evening. We'll be providing our own live commentary, but we will hopefully have some live views of the launch, just as we did when we got started. And take a couple minutes, break down everything we know of what we're expecting to see of today's mission. If you're new, welcome though to the launch pad. My name's Zach. I'm the host here. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow. And we believe space is better together. So we want to see you guys active in the chat here tonight. You can join the Discord, hit the subscribe button. It really does help us out. And we're just glad to have you all here for our live coverage of STP 27 AD2 of the Astra Rocket 3. Launching that payload. It's the second of two test payloads for the United States Space Force. The first, as we all kind of saw, launch a little while ago, did not go so well, did not complete its mission. So hopefully the second demo for them go well. They're launching out of the Pacific Spaceport Complex in Kodiak, Alaska from Launch Pad 3B. They're going to be launching to a 450-kilometer low Earth orbit at a 70-degree inclination, and the Astra Rocket 3 is not reusable, so it will crash the first stage into the Pacific Ocean. This is the fourth launch of fifth launch, sorry, of an Astra Rocket 3. The first never left the pad, and then the other four did have launches, but other failures. It's the second launch for Astra of 2021, and the second commercial launch, as that first demo was technically a commercial flight. Onboard is unknown, as this is a classified mission, but it is as expected that onboard is a mass simulator, just like the Space Force did on their first flight. Taking a brief moment to look at the current weather conditions for the Kodiak region, and everything is trending good for the weather. So that is a great sign that they should be able to proceed with this evening's launch. That was last updated just not even a minute ago for that. So we'll leave that. There we go. Another update as we refresh. Here at the Launchpad, we do love answering your guys' questions, so you can send those in the chat. Just tag us at the Launchpad. That'll make sure that we're able to see those questions come in and be able to answer them as well. We love answering your guys' questions. If you want to jump the queue and be the next question, you can send those in as super chats, and then you'll be the next one read out on the screen. As we do have currently 58 minutes until the scheduled liftoff time, we do have a little bit of time that we want to point you over to our holiday collection that did just drop out, that you can order and get in time to wear to your favorite holiday parties, whether you're staying at home or maybe you're in a place that you can go out and have those. So you can check those out over on our shop, the link in the description and in the chat. All of those go to helping us continue doing what we do. But diving into your guys' questions, I see lots of ones coming in. Alex, first I ever heard of a rocket launching from Alaska. Is that normal? So this is a new complex that they're launching from. Not as common as we have seen, but it is a spaceport that is being developed, as they can do some polar launches from there, obviously quite easily. But they will be launching the Astra rocket once it is operational from other launch sites around the world. Just I believe it was last week, we had confirmation they'll be launching from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, which is where we normally see most of the launches out of the United States. I believe they'll be launching from Launch Complex 36 is the one that I heard they have contracted. So they will be developing that here in the near future as they continue towards becoming an operational launch company for small payloads. The Astra rocket itself is a small sat launch vehicle. This is the third version of the Astra rocket, and then today they're launching the fifth iteration of it. The rocket is 43 feet in height, or 13.1 meters. It has a diameter of 1.32 meters, or 4.3 feet. It can carry about 50 kilograms to a 500 kilometer sun synchronous orbit, or SSO. So it's in the same class as the Rocket Lab Electron that we watched launch just yesterday. So we'll see a competitor opening up there. We also know that Rocket Lab's now getting into the industry of the larger rocket, and will be building their Neutron rocket to become a competitor with Falcon 9. So you start small and you build your way up. It is a two-stage rocket using RP1 and liquid oxygen, or LOX, for its fuel. To give you an idea where it's launching from out of Alaska, we do have our weather radar pulled up here, and nothing showing on the radar for it, but we do have Kodiak here just on the coast. You can see there, and then when we zoom out, just to give you an idea where it is in relation to Alaska and Anchorage and North America. So right where my hand is, that's where Kodiak is. Gives you an idea where they're launching for today. Liberty Dude, thank you so much for that super chat. Appreciate it. Any wrenches to throw at the... Yes, definitely. Well, maybe not wrenches, but maybe some hammers. We can work on that. Great to have you all here. Slayer's asking, have they successfully launched to orbit yet? No, they have not had a successful full orbit flight. They have had 4 missions that have actually lifted off from the surface. They will break down the missions actually right now. Rocket 3.0, they had a loss of vehicle during a ground test due to a valve that stuck open while they were detanking the vehicle. 3.1, the flight termination system, or FTS, activated 21 seconds into flight due to a software issue. 3.2 failed to achieve orbit by 500 meters due to an error in the mixture of the second stage's fuel and oxidizer. And then 3.3 was terminated 2 minutes 31 seconds into flight after the engine experienced a failure 1 second after ignition due to the quick disconnect at the base of the rocket during the launch ignition sequence. So that's why we lost that last one and saw it go wee to the right and then up. What it did is the reason it lost an engine, because it lost an engine, the reason it slid to the side was it didn't have enough to go up, but it had enough to maintain hover and go sideways because it lost an engine, so it tilted the way like a car does when it loses a wheel. It continued until it burned off enough weight that then it could start going up, and that's why it actually was stable. We are seeing that NASA Spaceflight is going live here, so we will patch them in when we get some live views. So we can hear an update on the rocket itself and how things are progressing here today. Again, we want to thank both NASA Spaceflight and Astra Space for the footage here this evening as we count down towards liftoff. But let's listen in for an update from NASA Spaceflight.
Live today from Astra's headquarters in Alameda, California. My name is Thomas Burkhart, News Director for NASA Spaceflight, and I'm joined by Carolina Grossman, Director of Product Management at Astra. Carolina, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Thomas.
Astra and NASA Spaceflight are partnering tonight to bring you this live broadcast. Thank you to Astra for covering some of the expenses associated with making that happen. As usual, we'll be taking your questions from chat over the course of the broadcast, so if you have a question about today's launch, tag at NASA Spaceflight in chat, and we're going to answer as many of those questions as time allows. Let's start off with a quick status update on today's launch attempt. Carolina, how are we looking so far?
We are keeping our eye on some upper level winds, but we are proceeding with tonight's launch attempt, and you can see that the first stage has been filled with propellant, as indicated by that smoky white area for the top half of the upper stage.
And so if you are just joining us and maybe being new to Astra recently celebrated its 5-year anniversary. This is their 4th orbital launch attempt. So let's take a look at some clips from 2016 till now and Astra's 5-year anniversary.
The early days.
So we'll keep that view up so you guys can see it, and then of course we have that live view kind of right below me of the current rockets there. As we count down, we are currently sitting at T-minus 42 minutes and counting until this is, or 51 minutes, 37 seconds. I'm hiding it. It's underneath me. Let me move my camera for you guys. We'll be in the top left today. That's what we'll do, and I'll be under the logo. That works. But T-minus 51 minutes, 22 seconds and counting until liftoff of the Astra 3 rocket here this evening. See a couple questions coming in about the 500 meters per second. Yes, that was 500 meters per second in its speed that it missed reaching an orbital velocity at. So yes, per second, not per hour. And yes, 50 kilograms was the total. So it's not too much. It is a small sat payload deployment. And they will not be launching, massive payloads or constellations like we see a Falcon 9 do, but this is just their first rocket. Liberty Dude, again, thank you so much. This rocket's, beside the always things to learn factors, will be considered fully successful. Be happy you watched this one. Absolutely, Liberty Dude, I agree. We wish Astra well and hope that they will be having a great launch here today. We want to see your guys' results in the poll. 1,148 results. 23% think there's going to be a scrub. 5% of you think failure on the pad or during liftoff. 15% failure during flight. And 56% successful launch and deployment. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what we want to see here today. But Astra is 5 years old. So they're celebrating that anniversary as they count down towards today's flight.
Q&A now to get a little more information about Astra and their mission. And we've got a set of questions actually coming to us from the Alameda Boys and Girls Club right down the street here from Astra. So let's take a look at that.
Hi, my name's Janai, and I am in 6th grade. And my question is, how long did it take you to build the rocket?
Thank you so much for that question, Janai. Right now, it takes us a few months to build the rocket, but we are getting faster and faster every time. One of the most interesting things, I think, is that a lot of the material that you see in front of you on the screen actually comes into our factory as sheets of metal and raw material, and we fabricate it in our in-house machine shop to become the rocket and the launcher that you see in front of you today.
Hi, my name is Maria, and I'm in 6th grade, and my question was, how high will the rocket go up into orbit?
Maria, that's a great question. For today's mission, the rocket will go 500 kilometers, or about 310 miles, into orbit, and that's about the distance from Alameda to Los Angeles. The rocket will reach orbit in just about 10 minutes, though, which is a lot faster than traveling by car or plane from Alameda to LA.
Hi, my name is Amber. My question is, why is the rocket going into space?
Amber, thank you so much for your question. This is a test flight for us so that we can learn more about how to design and build rockets that can be launched in space on a regular basis. For this mission, we're partnering with the U.S. Space Force to test a payload and see what it would be like to launch real payloads in the future. And a payload is just the object that's being sent into space. For us, that will be different types of satellites that help our mission of improving life on Earth from space. So a lot of those satellites will be doing things like Earth observation to help monitor the warming of oceans and deforestation, or providing connectivity across the globe.
Hello, my name is Devad. I'm in 6th grade, and my question is, what is the benefit of making a smaller rocket?
Devad, we have a need for speed. By making Astra rockets smaller than other rockets, we're able to manufacture, transport, and launch on a faster timeline because we don't take up more space or materials than we need. In fact, our rockets fit in a standard shipping container, which makes it easy to transport them to the launch site. Also, a small rocket is easier to produce in a large quantity, which is important to us because our goal is to launch a rocket every day by the end of 2025.
Hi, my name is Nala, and my question is there a door on the rocket?
That's a good question, Nala. There are no people-sized doors on our rockets because we're not launching people into space, but we do have about a dozen access doors on the rocket that we use to complete inspections and repairs. They have really funny names like the Dork Knight, Finding Dory, Dorito, Gryffindor, Drewberry Door, Oakland Ray Doors, and Dora the Explorer. They can vary in size but are generally about a foot by a foot, and the payload is actually not installed through a door. The way that we install the payload is by taking apart that top pointy part of the rocket, which is the fairing, which comes in two halves, and then we install the payload and reinstall those two halves of the fairing.
Hi, my name is Glenn. I'm in 6th grade, and what are some benefits of launching a rocket in Alaska?
Glenn, that is a great question. We're launching from Alaska from the Pacific Spaceport Complex, Alaska, which is our launch station. And one of the good things about this launch site is that we can launch over the ocean, which helps keep the rocket away from people. And we work with the government to keep planes and ships away from the rocket's path. More generally, though, launch sites help determine which locations in space that the payloads on the rocket can reach. Many launches happen near the equator because that's where Earth's rotation is the fastest, and it gives rockets a boost of speed. Lots of satellites for Earth imaging and observation want to go to polar orbits, which go over the North and South Pole, so that they can observe all the points of Earth's surface. Launching from Kodiak, Alaska makes it easier to get to those kinds of orbits, and in the future we're planning to operate other spaceports in different parts of the world.
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm in 6th grade. My question is, how does a fire come out of the rocket?
Anna, that's a great question. The fire coming from our rockets is a large amount of heat and energy that's directed out of our 5 engines, which enable the rocket to lift off. They're fueled by an explosive combination of kerosene and liquid oxygen. And a fun fact is that a huge portion of the rocket is basically just a gas tank to fuel those engines for flight.
Thank you so much to the Alameda Boys and Girls Club here in California for all those great questions. We're going to get into some chat questions now. Again, if you have a question about the launch, tag us with @NASA We're bringing those in, and we've got a whole queue of them here. And we're going to start with the first question is talking about the previous launch for Astra, LV0006, which we saw earlier this year. Carolina, let's talk about what has been changed since then.
Yes, well, if you joined us in August, it was definitely a pretty unique rocket launch experience. Certainly nothing like anything I've ever seen before. And what happened is that the propellant system that loads the fuel and the liquid oxygen into the vehicle is designed to seal off and separate when the rocket lifts off at T0. Unfortunately, there was a small leak, and some of that fuel and oxidizer combined in the very, very hot exhaust from our engines, and combined with a lot of energy, and resulted in one of the electronic components of one of our engines sending a signal to shut off one of our 5 Delphin engines. And all of this happened in less than a second, so the team very quickly reviewed the data millisecond by millisecond, and we were able to uncover the cause of the issue, and within just a few weeks, the team worked really, really hard and was able to separate the way that we load the propellants onto the vehicle to prevent this from happening in the future. And then more broadly, we looked at the way that we test and qualify and verify these components so that we can make sure that we never encounter those issues again. So hopefully that that solution that's in place tonight will prevent us from seeing that issue, and we will have much less sideways flight tonight.
Definitely hoping for a smoother launch tonight at just under 43 minutes and counting towards tonight's liftoff. Keeping the questions coming here. One from chat says, does Astra have any plans for other rockets after this one? So we're looking at a version of Rocket 3 right now, correct?
Yes, what we see is Rocket 3, and we have a lot of great plans for our future rockets. But in tonight's webcast, we're really going to focus on this mission with the U.S. Space Force. And if you want more information about Astra's plans and future, you can check out our website, and also our SEC filings are a great place to find information about our future plans.
We can keep talking about this particular mission because we should go into a little bit more detail about what the goals of today's flight actually are. It is a test flight. It's got a test payload on it. Can you just review what the other goals that we're looking to demonstrate here tonight are?
Yes, so we are going for an orbital launch attempt with LV0007. Our goals are to reach orbit, and the payload we have on this mission is a mass simulator, so we will not actually be deploying the payload that we have on this mission. And you can see we have a camera here that is pointing at lights that will signal when the simulated deployment signal would have gone off. Part of the reason why we do not want to deploy it is because it's an inert payload, and that would create space debris, so we are not deploying a payload tonight. This is the United States Space Force's second mission, STP-2782, and it is intended to demonstrate Astra's ability to deliver payloads for the Department of Defense.
We just saw that camera view inside the payload fairing, and we have a question in chat from Nathan asking, are you able to monitor the payload inside while fueling is underway?
Yes, so that camera is a good indication of how we visually monitor the payload, and we have all sorts of different sensors on board as well, where we are making sure that all of the environments on the upper stage where the payload is remains healthy.
What we're looking at on our screen right now is a live view of Rocket 3.3, the latest version of Astra's rocket, this particular one being LV0007 on the pad. And we see a lot of frost on the outside. We pointed that out earlier, and that's a sign of propellant loading. Can you explain why propellant loading shows us, why we have these visual effects for fueling underway? Is it a result of what propellants you're actually using?
Yeah, so the vehicle, both of our stages are fueled by the same propellants. We use our fuel is RPX, which is essentially kerosene, and we use liquid oxygen as our oxidizer. And the liquid oxygen that you see is that top white portion is very, very cold, whereas the kerosene is not as cold. So that's why you get that visual demarcation between the liquid oxygen and the fuel.
And for those just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad. We'll keep listening in as they go through some questions. We'll be listening in for updates as they count down. as we are at T-minus 39 minutes, 30 seconds until counting. We're here going to answer some of your guys' questions as well, and we saw a few come in here in the chat. They are going for a launch attempt here tonight. They had a little bit of a delay, about an hour delay, but they are going for it here. Propellant load has been underway for about 30 minutes, and they are progressing towards this countdown sequence here. They're just going to throw an old boat anchor away. Maybe that would work. But great to have you all here. I know a couple questions we saw. One was asking what's the price of launching Astra versus Rocket Lab. So a Rocket Lab Electron is 59 feet tall, or 18 meters, and it averages a cost of 7.5 million US dollars per launch. The Astra rocket, which averages a height, or which has, a height of 43 feet, or 13.1 meters. Currently, they're saying averages the cost of 2.5 million per launch. It does have a smaller bearing than the Electron, from what I understand. So there is some flexibility of what they can carry versus what Electron can, but they carry a similar weight to orbit. So definitely the early days of Astra, that is why they hope that they would be able to, as they said earlier in the stream here tonight, launch one of these rockets every day. They want to be an orbital daily launch company from launch sites around the globe, launching small satellites, comsats, things like that, for the different governments, but also for private customers as well. So a little bit of a different there, about a third of the cost, if it can be operational. So that's what we are waiting to see. A couple of people asking about the payload on board. It is a mass simulator, which means, like we saw with Starship, where they just put a big hunk of metal on the top of the early Starships to simulate the rest of the upper stage. Same thing. So there's a big bit of weight on top of the Astra rocket tonight. Now, Astra being a company that doesn't want to leave space debris in orbit, they're not actually going to deploy that mass simulator like other companies would. Instead, they have the mass simulator there, and they've put a couple lights on board. And instead of hitting the button that actually separates and deploys that payload, the lights will just turn green and show us a green light. The payload would have separated, and then it'll be able to deorbit and burn up in the atmosphere. So no true deployment, but a simulated deployment will be occurring here today. If it's your first time here, welcome to the Launchpad. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow. We believe space is better together, so we invite you to be active in the chat and hit that subscribe button as well. We're taking your guys' live comments and questions as we count down to today's Astra 3 rocket flight out of Kodiak, Alaska. A mission, the second demo mission for the U.S. Space Force. It is a very different rocket from some of the others we have seen, many comparing it to a lipstick, or very much going back to that original missile look for it. Able to carry up to 50 kilometers into a sun-synchronous orbit of about 500 kilometers. So that's where it's comparable to Electron. Current payload that they are using, so you need a couple questions on that. It uses RP-1 and liquid oxygen, or LOX, on board. And it is a 2-stage rocket with 5 engines on the first stage and a single engine on the second stage. If you guys have questions, keep sending those in the chat. We're going to take a moment, listen in, see if there's any updates.
Counting.
And we'll go from there. So stay with us. Let's listen in.
Spaceflight, where we'll continue to answer as many of those as we can as the countdown progresses. Of course, once we get a little later into the countdown, we're going to give some more updates about what exactly we'll expect during this flight, and keep you updates on the countdown as it progresses. But right now, clocks are still ticking. The next question in chat, Sonia asks, what happens to each stage of the rocket after launch? Will anything remain in space, or will all return to burn up in the atmosphere?
Yeah, so our rocket is not reusable. So the first stage will fall back into the ocean, and then the upper stage will once it reaches orbit, will be deorbited and burn up in the atmosphere. So we do consider it very important to be responsible stewards of space. We do not want to leave any space debris up there in the future, and so our upper stage will burn up in the atmosphere, and similarly, many of the small satellites that that we would take up in the future would have a limited lifetime and burn up in the atmosphere as well.
Another question in chat, and you know what? It would not be a NASA spaceflight live stream without a question quite like this. A question about what are those towers around the launch pad? Those light poles around the site look like they must take a beating. What kind of protection does your pad equipment have against rocket exhaust and potentially other things? Because again, we can't not ask about the poles around the rocket. It's a thing around here.
Yes, now I'm prepared for that lightning system question. So that is our lightning protection system, which helps keep all of our equipment safe in the event of lightning in the atmosphere. And certainly it is not a very forgiving environment being out on the launch pad, but we do protect a lot of the strong back, which is that tall arm which you see has a lot of plumbing, and protect it as much as possible from the exhaust of the engines. But otherwise, because our rocket's relatively small, we expect it to lift off. Everything else on the pad is in pretty safe condition, and most of the beating that the lightning protection system will take is from the elements out there in Kodiak.
You know, while we're looking around some of the other things surrounding the launch pad, we do notice one other thing. There are a lot of open gates around this rocket. Not a coincidence, I don't think.
You know, keeping the gates open is actually a standard part of our launch procedure, but it was a very good thing to have the gates open during the LV0006 flight because it very politely went right out the gate.
Good to see that's still in place. Keeping some questions coming from chat, we have a question asking, how long will the first stage fire during today's ascent?
Yeah, so closer to our T0 time, we'll go through the detailed mission profile, but first stage flight is about 3 minutes long.
And how does that compare to the upper stage? The upper stage fire is longer, right?
Yeah, the upper stage fires for closer to 6 minutes, so our overall time is to reach orbit is under 10 minutes.
Gotcha. And when we're talking about the flight profile, we had another question in chat asking, can you go over what would be considered a fully successful flight profile for today's mission?
Yes, our main objective today is reaching orbit. So that would mean the successful completion of passing through max Q in first stage flight, then main engine cutoff. Then we'll separate the fairings and the first stage from the upper stage. The upper stage will then light, and at second engine cutoff, or SECO, we will have reached orbit, and at that point we will send that signal to simulate the payload deployment. Again, we will not be deploying a payload on this flight.
And next question, we talked about the red team earlier. A shout out to them working out in the cold. Can you tell us what is actually the red team?
Yes, so our red team is the very, very small team of folks that goes all the way up to Alaska with the vehicle. It is a small team because we want to be pretty nimble, but we also want to maintain enough folks that we can have a buddy system and maintain safety. So we give a huge, huge shout out to them. I can briefly go through who our red team is today. Our red lead, who is responsible for all the activities and safety of launch pad related operations, is Adam Frisch. Then red 2 is Hill Hudson. Red 3 is Robert Freeman. Red 4 is Eric Larson. Red 5 is Sam Hirschap. And they are all the folks who operate the hands-on hardware before our remote systems take over. So they're out here making sure that the rocket is set up appropriately, that all of our ground support equipment is in good shape. And then we have our IT, Eric Steinberg, who specializes in our communication systems and AV system. We've been working a lot with him to make sure that this live stream goes smoothly. And finally, safety is Ryan Hirschfeld, and he's responsible for the overall safety of our launch operation, including making sure that personnel are complying with our safety policies and procedures.
We also have a lot of other team members that we want to introduce. Really quick before we continue, we should point out that we have just entered a hold at T-minus 30 minutes. We'll get you an update on that as soon as we can. But let's look at the other team members who are working on this hold right now.
Yes, so the camera that you are looking at right now is focused on our mission control here in Alameda in our HQ, and as you can see, again, it's a pretty small team, and I can briefly go through the folks who are in mission control. First, we have Chris Hoffman, who is our flight director. He is responsible for overseeing and directing launch vehicle operations following the countdown with the authority to call, hold, recycle, or abort as required. As a fun fact, on the side, Chris Hoffman runs Rocket Cat Rescue, so we love to support Rocket Cat Rescue here at Astra. Then to his left, with the googly eyes, Thomas Arend, who just stood up, is our flight activities officer, and he's responsible for logging the day's activities and making sure that we note any actions that need to be completed after the fact. Continuing clockwise, Chris May is Command and Data Handling, or CDH. He monitors and adjusts state machines as needed and follows the commands of the flight director. Then Joshua Green is our vehicle controller with a call sign Tango, and he's responsible for operating the terminal, which actually controls the vehicle systems under the direction of flight director. So you'll be hearing a lot from Tango as we proceed through the countdown. Dan Wilson is our GNC, guidance, navigation, and controls guru, and he's responsible for making sure that wind and weather trajectory information is up to date, properly loaded, and meeting all of our flight criteria. And finally, Lucas Hunley, which is flight safety, call sign FTS, who's responsible for our flight safety system and making sure that all of our systems are operating nominally.
That's a look at the Astra team, and that team is currently working a hold at T-minus 30 minutes. In addition to the people we just saw, there are some other call signs that we may hear later in the countdown too that we didn't actually see there, right?
You're right. Outside of mission control, we have what we call the engineering backroom, who are the engineers who are responsible for their respective systems on the vehicle. And so they are not in a control room, but they're actually distributed throughout our office. They sit at their desk and monitor their systems. And you'll hear folks like ACE, who's our ground software system. Odin is our flight software. Delphin and Ether are our engines. We have Booster, which is the first stage system, Orbit, which is the second stage system, and Launcher, our ground support equipment. And you may also hear Panther, who is our backroom engineering coordinator.
While those teams continue to work this hold, we're going to take a break from the commentary so we can look and see if we can get you an update on the status of today's countdown.
And currently we're sitting at T-minus 30 minutes and holding. As you did hear, we are awaiting an update, as they said they're going to try to get an update on that at this time. But they are currently having that hold. So we'll see what that progresses, and if that means we'll see any delay in the count or a scrub as goes. Scrubs are better than runs, especially these test flights. So definitely important there. So we'll wait to hear any updates. If you're new, take a moment, engage that subscribe button. It really does help us out. And keep sending in your guys' live comments and questions. We'll be answering your questions as we continue towards tonight's countdown attempt here in 30 minutes and holding. But we're glad to have you all with us here this evening. You are new here to the launch pad. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, and we cover all rocket launches, hearings, starbase testing, exclusive interviews, and more. We hope that you will be here. If you're just joining the chat, let us know in the chat where you're watching from. We know we got people all over the world tuning in. We've got Australia in the chat. We've got lots of UKs in the chat. All over the US and Canada's in the chat. We saw some Philippines as well. We'd love to welcome you in as well. On your screen, though, is a live view of the Astra rocket. It's currently sitting on its pad in Kodiak, Alaska, at launch pad 3B at the Pacific Spaceport Complex. This is the fifth iteration of the third generation, and let's listen for an update.
Hold at T-minus 30.
We do. The team is taking some extra time to verify some of the upper stage systems on the vehicle, but we're hoping that we are able to verify what we need to confirm and proceed with our countdown shortly.
Meanwhile, we'll go back into some questions while we wait for a resolution on that hold here. So the next question.
So there we go, an update nice and quick there. They are working some issues on the second stage of Astra. It is only a 2-stage vehicle, so they want to make sure that that second stage is successful. I saw a couple of people asking the history of the Astra rocket. This is its 5th flight of the 3rd version of it. The first version was lost during ground testing. The second was lost due to an FTS activation 21 seconds into flight due to a software issue in the guidance system. The third launch, it failed to reach its orbit. So it had a great launch, but it failed to reach its orbit because they had an error in the mixture of the fuel and oxidizer of the second stage. So want to make sure you get that second stage right. And then the last one, which most of us saw because it went all over social media, was the fact that they had that flight termination 2 minutes 31 seconds after the rocket kind of went wee to the side and out the gate and then went up. That was due to an issue with a quick disconnect at the base of the rocket during the ignition sequence. So hopefully 5th time's the charm. We'll keep an eye out to see if we see any change to that countdown time. They were targeting 10:20 p.m. Pacific, which is about 25 minutes from now. We are seeing that delay and that hold starting to go into effect and delay tonight's launch. They do have a window. They are able to launch. We don't have the full window end time currently, but we are expecting that they'll hopefully have enough time to activate anything they need to do with the second stage. If you guys have questions, take a moment, send those in the chat. We'll continue answering those. The Astra 3 rocket can carry 50 kilograms or so, up to a 500-kilometer sun-synchronous orbit. So very competitive to the Rocket Lab Electron. And it is a very small rocket, and they were talking about how it is, because it's smaller, is why it is able to go kind of faster into space, only 8 minutes 30 seconds from payload deployment, where with Falcon 9, obviously much bigger payloads, but we see 10-12 minutes into orbit, and then sometimes it's a lot longer till payload. So that is why we see that. But the smaller the rocket, the less extra weight, the more that thrust can go into what the payload is carrying, and the more frequently they will be able to launch these. Their goal eventually, 1 launch every day from launch sites all scattered around the world. See them moving in those cameras there, taking a look at the second stage of the rocket. I feel like they're looking at something that maybe we weren't supposed to look at. They're looking at that attachment point. So we'll have to wait and see what that was all about and see if we get any updates there. Liberty Dude, I heard Jeff Bezos ask for a court injunction claiming they invented rockets. Oh, yeah, no, but maybe. Oh, Jeff. Not exploding is more cost effective. Absolutely. Scrubs are better than Ruds, and so are shrubs, apparently, according to the chat. Mohawk guy is back. Yup. Are you aware that the blonde moon eclipse tonight directly west? Yes, we're kind of hoping we might see a view during the launch. There's also the possibility of some great auroras in the third North America region this evening. We might see that during the launch here as well. But it is a almost total lunar eclipse here this evening. So if you are anywhere basically in North America, head on outside and take a look at that eclipse. We'll take a look at what time that is for you guys and the current kind of status of the eclipse. Pull that up here. Just one brief moment. We got a question here from Drex. Can Astra strap 2 boosters to the side for a heavier configuration? Just imagine. That's a great question. I do not believe so, but maybe. It would be something they'd have to look at, obviously, very closely, but maybe. The lunar eclipse expected to have its maximum eclipse 3 hours, 6 minutes from now. So, still got quite a bit of time until that lunar eclipse takes place. It will be the longest eclipse in 600 years for this much of North America. So a great eclipse to get out there and hopefully see. But it is about 5 minutes away from that eclipse beginning. It's about 90 minutes to warm up and then 90 minutes to come out of it. So that eclipse expected to begin here shortly. You're just joining us, though. Welcome to our live launch coverage of Astra's 3 rocket. If you're new, take a moment, engage the subscribe button. If you have a question, you can send that in the chat. We continue to answer those. Rusty's asking, how many engines on each stage, and are they the same? Great question there, Rusty. Thanks for sending that in. They are different. They have 2 different types of engines on board. Both are fueled by RP1 and liquid oxygen, or LOX. The first stage has 5 electric pump-fed Delphin engines that produce a total thrust of 145 kilonewtons at liftoff. The second stage is powered by a single-fed Aether engine that produces 3.3 kilonewtons of thrust in vacuum. They have been very quiet, Astra of a company, in more details of their rocket engines and just a lot of the statistics, like thrust to weight ratio, the specific impulses and stuff, like we know with many of the others. So we can't really fully compare it, but something there. The aluminum body of the tanks, very similar to how Starship is developed, where they create their rings and then weld those together, creating their booster segment. So it's kind of, in many ways, like a super mini Starship. The one really unique thing about Astra 3 is it can fit into a standard shipping container and be towed by a truck, which means this rocket can be set up on mobile launch platforms basically anywhere in the world with its ground support staff and about a week of vehicle checks, dress rehearsals, and our launch readiness review in advance of an actual launch. So you can see lots of launch complexes open up around the world depending on what their payload and customer require for a launch. You can see these launching actually from warehouse communities or things like that. Obviously, if they can have a launch license issued for that region. Robin, if one engine shot down, can they reach orbit? Based on what we saw with... I'll answer that, but we're going to listen in here just for an update.
Provide updates as soon as we have them. In the meantime, we are joined by Will Jury.
Okay, so we don't have any updates. If one engine shuts down, that's what we kind of saw on the last flight. No, it cannot reach orbit. Last flight, it had ignition. It launched, but one of the quick disconnects had an issue. So it kind of held it, and the rocket went, and then it broke here. And then one of the systems in the computer said, okay, we need to shut down that engine. There's an issue. So they had engine shutdown. But because the rocket had so much fuel still left on it, it slid to the side. That's why it slid sideways and went out that gate to the right of your screen right now. Kind of a joke. That's why they're leaving the gates open tonight. It is something they used to do, but if that fence had not been open in the last one, they would have had a much bigger issue and possibly damage or loss of that launch complex, which would have caused a much larger delay than just the few months that we have seen. So when it launched up, almost nothing, slid to the side, kept going until it burned off enough weight that it could start going up. So then it slid up and kind of curved up until it was going. And then they FTS'd it when it was clear it was stable, but not going to actually be able to make an orbit. So definitely can't do a full orbit. If it lost it quite a bit later into flight, there might be a possibility you could still see that, but not completely. But a great question there, Robin. Thanks for sending that in. Fits into a shipping container is a military thing usually. That is true. Note the military pictures on your screen right now. So definitely something that Astra would like to have is these space force and Air Force contracts. But at this point, their first demo flight did not go well, and hopefully the second will. I think the fact that we are seeing these delays is something that the Space Force will take into account. We've been live for an hour and 45 minutes. We went live about 25-30 minutes later than we should have. So you're seeing a 2.5 hour delay, and we still have 30 minutes on the clock. If that was a military operation, you can't say, okay, I need that launch now and delay this long. So it is something that's, obviously they're still new, but they do have a lot that they're going to need to be able to progress in the Astra rocket to be reliable, not reusable, but reliable, functional, repetitive, especially if they ever want to get to that point where there's one Astra rocket launching somewhere in the world every day. Very interesting to see there. We are still waiting to hear some updates from Astra. We haven't heard anything yet, so we'll stay tuned for that. Originally, we were targeting, or the new T0 we were last targeting was 10:20 p.m. Pacific, so about 14 minutes from now. So we are well into this hold, delay of T minus 30 minutes and holding from Kodiak, Alaska. If you guys have questions, you can continue sending those in the chat. Take a moment, engage that subscribe button as well. It really does help us out. And while we're waiting, we've got a little bit of time. We figured we'd point it out to you, you guys as well. We know the holiday season is starting to come up, and we think some of you might be interested. That you can take a moment and check out over on our Etsy shop. We've got our holiday collection that we just released. The link is in the description of the video. We'll drop it in the chat as well. A great time to order. Make sure that you get those in time for the holidays, as well as being able to have those to wear for the holiday season. If you order now, they will get to you within the next couple of weeks. If you are international and you're worried about the shipping, everything, if you're over in Europe, we actually do have the ability to manufacture in Europe. So we are able to manufacture in different sites globally and make sure that we get those to you generally within kind of 4 or 5 days of shipment. And normally that's within a couple days of ordering. So really quick turnaround there. You can check that out. We've got our Hoppy Xmas, our Deck the Halls with lots of rockets, with your favorite SpaceX rockets, and our ugly Starbase shirts. There are some hoodies as well, and we have also our full other collections there. So take a moment, check that out. We've got a little bit of time. As a few people have said in the chat, hurry up and wait. That's exactly what it is. So take a moment, check that out. It does help us out. Even if you can't order now, totally understandable. But favorite the shop. You'll keep in mind if you have an Etsy account, and if we ever do any sales or release something new, you will be notified about that as well. Parallel, I don't think this is military. They are working on a delivery system for the military for sure. It's not a think, it's a definite. Average cost of a launch, $2.5 million. About a third of what the Electron rocket with Rocket Lab costs of $7.5 million. So definitely has some great options there, but we will see how that progresses for the evening. Thanks for appreciate that, Morello. Glad that you like it. Those, if you order now, will arrive also ahead of the James Webb Telescope launch, if you're interested in some of our James Webb products there. So we try to have something for everybody, and if we don't, let us know, and we'll make it, because we want to make sure that everybody, no matter shape, size, or where you're at, are able to get something for it. Francis, we have one. It's on the shop. Ugly Starbase sweater. It's there. You can get it as a hoodie or a shirt. I don't think we have a sweatshirt up. We could release that, though, if that's what you guys want. We are still waiting for an update on why we're holding at T-minus 30 minutes and counting. We have not had any updates from Astra or from the NASA spaceflight team, so we're continuing to wait for that. We're going to take a couple minutes, listen into the live stream, see what they're saying. Maybe we'll get an update, but stay with us right here on the launch pad.
Imaging and things that will make it easier for us to track things like deforestation and all those types of problems. They really resonate with me. So that gives me meaning to the things that we do, and it's like a motivator whenever I'm thinking about a good reason to do what we do. That mission is really what motivates me.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to come and speak with us on today's broadcast, and good luck with the launch.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I have a few people I want to thank. So, this day wouldn't be possible at all without the support of our partners. We've had NASA, the U.S. Air Force, the U.S. Space Force. They've all been phenomenal partners for us, just helping us get all the resources that we need to make this possible. I also want to give a shout out to our supply chain team. They've worked tirelessly to make sure that we get everything we need to make this day possible. And also my family. My wife has put up with many early mornings and many late nights. And my 2 kids, Solomon and Makeda, they're amazing. I hope they're in bed right now. I can show them a recording in the morning, but they're also very excited about what we do here. So thanks to all of them.
Very cool. And Will, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, if you're just joining us, we're in a hold at T-minus 30 minutes right now. Teams are working on evaluating some aspects of the upper stage right now. We'll give you more updates as soon as we have them. In the meantime, let's...
So they're still working on that second stage there, but thanks for asking there, Murillo, what we're wearing. If you guys want to pick anything up, I forgot to mention we do have promo code Launch Day. It is a launch day. You put that into the chat, you will get or into the not into the chat, into the promo code box during your checkout. You get 10% off everything of your order. So great time to be able to use that. I forgot to mention that for you guys, but yeah, lots to check out. If you guys have questions, though, continue to send those in, and we'll be able to answer those live as we count down, still sitting at T-minus 30 minutes and counting. I see what you're saying, Francis. Following the stream, give me 5 minutes, and that will be up. I will put that up there. No worries. Alicia's one of the most scenic pads is New Zealand. Absolutely. Rocket Lab's launch complex, really hard to beat. It's a really beautiful location on that outjetting. Absolutely. Hope to definitely see it one day there in person. If you are just joining us, though, welcome here to the launch pad. You're joining us for our live coverage and commentary of the Astra test flight here tonight. We're sitting at T-minus 30 minutes and holding due to some extra work on the second stage, which, I'll be honest, I kind of would have hoped they would have done in all the earlier testing holds, but we are still waiting for that possible attempt here, and we're wishing them well. We wanted to hear from you guys what you guys thought for today. Almost 1,500 people responded in. 22% of you think tonight's going to end in a scrub, and that number is slowly going up as the day goes on. 6% failure on the pad or during liftoff. 16% failure during flight. 56 still holding out hope that it will be a successful launch and deployment, and I agree with that. That's what we're hoping for them. 5th time the charm. Love to see this rocket get off the pad. Don Krause is an incredible photographer. Absolutely. Incredible photos for inspiration 4. Liberty Dude, funny to think the answer to deforestation is to launch rockets from the forest. Yeah, it's interesting. It is an interesting thing. Astra needs to click on Launchpad and then click Upgrade, says Joe. For those that don't play Kerbal reference, if you click on the Launchpad during the career mode, you can upgrade it. I think they will once they confirm they can launch a rocket. Then they'll be able to upgrade that there. Alicia said Scrub. Yeah, let's see in the chat. Which one did you guys vote for? Scrub, failure on pad liftoff, failure during flight, or success? And why? Let's hear from you guys in the chat. If you're also just joining us, let us know where you're tuning in from. We're glad to welcome you here and welcome you into that chat if you're new. And don't forget to subscribe. It really does help us out. You guys have been blowing us away in the support that you have been over the last month. Breaking every record multiple times, so glad to have you here. AM, we are in a hold due to something with the second stage, but we don't know what. Astra is a very secretive group. They don't share a lot, which is fair. They are dealing with rocket science, and this is a Space Force classified launch, but we did see a live camera into the payload, so it's not that classified. But they are working on something, but no word what they are working on. If you're also new, you can take a moment and join our Discord. I know we got Kevin, Marcus, Atlantis, Richie, and myself hanging out over in the live comms. Obviously, I'm on streams, but I'll be jumping in there in a little bit. So you guys can jump on over and say hello, share your thoughts, or type in the live chat as well. But it's free to join that. If you like what we do and have taken a moment and checked out some of our other streams, you can also hit that join button or patreon.com/thelaunchpad. All that goes into getting our gear, so we can be down at both Starbase, Vandenberg, and Florida for future launches here, and then hopefully around the world. But let's listen in for an update.
Minus 30 minutes as the teams work an upper stage evaluation. In the meantime, we're going to dive back into some questions. Again, if you have questions about today's launch, please tag us in chat at NASA Spaceflight. We're answering as many of those as we can. And our next question comes from Matthew asking if Astra has an internship program in the works.
Yes, we do have an internship program at Astra, and you can learn more by going to our website astra.com, and checking out the careers page. We are hiring for a lot of roles across the company, both full-time and internships as well. So please come join us.
And a related question about the workforce here at Astra. Why launch so late? I mean, the employees must be very tired, says Luigi. And if this is a test flight, the rocket does need to go to a very specific orbit, correct?
Yeah, so the launch window timing is determined by the FAA, and actually because Kodiak is very close to Anchorage, Alaska, which is a very, very busy airport, we do try and minimize the impact, especially during this time of year, which can be very busy with holiday travel and lots of cargo. So really the simple answer is that that the FAA has determined that this is the window available for us for this launch, and the team here has been shifting their hours over to this night shift over the last couple weeks in order to minimize fatigue and be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
I took a minute just to pull up their site because I was curious what they're hiring. We're still scrolling. This is Astra's career site right now. A lot of the positions in Alameda, California. Now I'll point out, Alameda. They're launching in Alaska, but they're hosting it and a lot of jobs in Alameda. So just something to keep in mind. But they've got lots of things, so you can definitely go and check out the Astra website there, giving a little bit of information about their launch services. Again, Francis, launch day. Should be launch day. Let me double check it. Let me double check that. Should just put launch day, all one word, in the thing, and that should bring that out for you. But we'll double check, make sure that that's. Yep, launch day, all one word. That will work for you there. If you're just joining us, though, welcome. We're T-minus 30 minutes of holding until liftoff of the Astra 3 rocket. Getting late here. It's almost midnight. And we are still in that delay as the crews are working on the second stage, working some sort of issue, but haven't given us too much of an update. Giving you an idea where they're launching from here tonight. They're launching from Earth, just in case you didn't know, from the Pacific Spaceport in Kodiak, Alaska, right up there at the top of North America. A little bit of information about what they're actually able to launch to space. We wanted to get an update there, as there was some confusion on what all can be launched, depending on the inclination, the altitude, and obviously the payload's weight for it. So that is what they are including. So it gives you a little breakdown there of both their low Earth orbit, their mid-inclination payload of a heavier payload, and an SSO orbit there. So you can also see the launch inclinations that they're able to spread out, 9 degrees, 50 degrees, or 98 degrees, because that gives a great thing. They're showing the crew mission control, so we're going to listen in here for a second.
Who's sort of second from the left there, has a joystick on his desk. And I will say that that's just for fun. The vehicle is entirely flown by an algorithm that is pre-programmed in flight. But otherwise, in mission control, we have some googly eyes on consoles. We have a really fun wolf blanket, not visible in the cameras, but we have some prayer candles for good luck as well. So these are just, most of these don't really have specific stories, but are more of a why not? We'll take all of the luck and that we can get, and we try and keep a sense of humor here at Astra.
I love it. Some more questions that have come through here. A question from Thomas, cool name Thomas, says, how long can the rocket hold while partially fueled? What kind of fueling state are we in right now, actually?
So I believe that we are fully fueled, and we can hold for quite some time. This is a pretty stable state that the rocket's in, so we can hold for. I believe we have just under 90 minutes left in our window, so we can hold through to the end of that. But we can hold for several hours in this state, as long as the rest of the systems are operating nominally, which at this point, aside from the question about the upper stage, everything else appears to be nominal.
Gotcha. Related to, the fueling.
So no update this air just as of yet, but they were showing Mr. Control, so we wanted to listen in just in case there was. Take some time to go through the Astra website since we got some time here. Yes, it should be for everything there, Francis. Ooh, actually, let me push a button. There's a button I gotta push probably to make that work. Sorry, 1 second. Refresh your page and now try it there, Francis. Sorry about that. You should be all set now to be able to have that work. Sorry about that. It was active, but not for everything. Give that a try there. But on your screen, actually, we're going to quickly switch over because you guys were asking the direction they're launching. There is the launch angle out of Kodiak, Alaska here, with where that splashdown position will be. And knowing Canada, I believe this is coming up on the Vancouver region down here. Down here, you're coming up on the Vancouver, Canada region, and then the U.S. Actually, no, here is Vancouver. That was Vancouver up there. That was the United States. So it is descending quite a ways down North America as it goes for its launch here this evening. A little bit of info there about their fairing. It is a ESPA grade class spacecraft. And they're really proud about the room that they have. A 60-inch diameter and 54-inch tall fairing. So it is a small fairing in comparison to some of the other missions that we see. But that is there. And if you're ready to launch, you can go to their website, hit a button, and they will send you a launch package and work on that. Their goal, improve life on Earth from space. So that is where they are launching here for the future. Some of their milestones, as they are a publicly traded company over on the NASDAQ for it. Even following some of these launches, they have also acquired a number of companies and brought those all into under Astra. So lots of things coming up. Looks like they were aiming at San Francisco, roughly like that. We do have about 90 minutes, it sounded like, left in the window. We have not been given a full window yet for today's mission, but she did just state about 90 minutes, so we are still in a hole at T-minus 30 minutes. Taking a look at the updated weather of the Spaceport Complex. Just refresh there. Currently, really good. Not very much sustained winds, and they're not expecting those winds to increase too much as well. So that's a good sign for them. And there you can see those temperatures: 22 degrees Fahrenheit or -6, -5 degrees Celsius. That's about what it is when where I am now. We should be going down to about -18 here at the studio tonight. So it's definitely getting into winter. Keep sending in your guys' live comments and questions, and we will continue answering those. Still sitting at that hold, and we'll keep that live view of the launch. If we do not see them resume that count in the next 60 minutes, then they will be forced to scrub, as they will not be able to fit it into their launch window. No worries, Ian. Enjoy the eclipse. We'd love to see some pictures, hopefully. No boom. What is the inches rubbish? Speak English. And it's on their website. I'm quoting the site. You can't go wrong with that. Quoting their information. But that is what they are doing. If you're just joining us, though, take a moment, engage that like, subscribe button. Really does help us out. Keep sending in questions, and we will continue to answer those as the evening goes on. Also, if you are in North America, keep in mind that the lunar eclipse has begun. We are 2 hours and 40 minutes from the max eclipse time, but it is beginning to start to darken on the edge of the moon. So a very historic launch, a very long launch, or eclipse. We're excited to be watching that as well, and hopefully get some pictures in from you guys. So a little bit of time. Launch odds of launch right now. The longer they're holding, the more I'm thinking they're not going to today, and we might have to do this all again tomorrow, or on the next launch attempt day. But I think at this point, if we don't see some activity in the next little bit, we're going to see a scrub here. But we shall see what happens. Benjamin's asking at the launch pad, do you think that if Astra is successful, they can take market share from Rocket Lab based on cost? Definitely. That's definitely something they're wanting to maybe indirectly do, but open up a opportunity in North America to begin with. Also, Electron is not something that fits into a shipping container. It is a little bit different. So Astra's developed, that whole launch site idea is, you can ship the rocket in one shipping container, all your ground support stuff comes, and you're on your way. But that is not what we are seeing with Electron. It's a much bigger complex for them. So they definitely want to open that market share. Rocket Lab expected to launch from Wallops Space Force Base, I believe it is now, over on the east coast of the United States, where we see some of the NASA missions. They do have a pad there they've been developing, but we have not seen any launches from there. We do know they also plan on possibly launching their Neutron rocket from there or other launch sites. So they're still working on lots of development as well. We'll see you later, Mark. Thanks for jumping in. You know how they design to the location? Sea cans. No go for launch, save the rocket. I mean, better safe than sorry. Absolutely. You don't want them to have another failure at this point, especially on their second and last confirmed demo with the Space Force. You want this to be a go. Yes, the white and black rocket on your screen there fits into a shipping container. I am from Canada. I live in Edmonton. Absolutely. Thanks, Benjamin, for the question. Appreciate it. Bryce is asking, why would there be a scrub? Can they can they get it together? I have Astra calls, man, light it up, or I will invest in Virgin. They want to be safe than sorry, especially on a demo mission. We see it Falcon 9 similarly. Same idea, better safe than sorry. Cisco's asking, is it fully fueled? They did have go for propellant load well over an hour ago, so they definitely are fueled in there. Maybe not fully topped up, but definitely a large part of it. This rocket uses RP1 and liquid oxygen for that. Liberty Dude saying launch in 49 minutes, which means 19 minutes from now, we would expect to see that count resume. So it'll be interesting to see. Hey, Nasty Nate, good to see another Edmontonian in here. You're in the Discord, say hello, great to connect. We hope to be able to do some meetups in different places around the world when able to do so in those regions. Francis on the international side, there's a Crew Dragon with they're Japanese, but yeah, is there any way to get that one but in English? Do you just want like Crew Dragon going? Sure, we can pull that out, Francis. We can pull that out after the stream. Absolutely, I will get our team on that. We'll try to get it up tonight. If not, we'll do it tomorrow, and we'll make sure we can make that work for you. Metal or Die is asking, do you think this company has a chance at maybe helping or giving SpaceX or NASA some different options as far as payloads or rocket launches? That looks like a big vent. We're just gonna listen in for a second and see what they're saying.
Right, that's correct. So the upper stage actually extends part of the way into that fairing volume, in addition to the payload. And again, tonight's flight has a test payload which will not be deployed, but we will monitor with cameras and send a signal to simulate deployment of the payload.
Again, if you have questions about today's launch, go ahead and tag us with
Oh, just looked like there was some extra venting there from the kind of strong back, so I thought we'd listen in there. Awesome. Other Canadians in here. Great. You're in the Discord. Let us know where you're from, and we'll say hello in there. Maybe do a meetup sometime for it. Troy, Canadians are so friendly. Going back to Metal's question there, will this help with NASA or SpaceX? SpaceX, not so much. They're not that type of launch provider. This is kind of closer to what their Falcon 1 thought was, not their Falcon 9. For it, NASA, yes, they do have some vehicles that they launch off the East Coast that they could consider this payload for. But keep in mind, this is a very small payload section. You're looking at only about 5.5 feet in diameter that you can fit into that payload. A couple CubeSats or things like that. But a lot of the satellites do need that bigger fairing for it. So we will see. We are currently sitting at T-minus 30 minutes and holding if you're just joining us. And we have about 45 minutes or so left in the window. An hour and 15 minutes or so left in the window, which means we have about 45 minutes or so until we will run out of time in that window to be able to resume the count. So we are keeping an eye on that clock. That is an estimate based on some of the early numbers that they gave us, but we are waiting to see what happens. Thanks, Morello. Appreciate it. Glad you enjoy what we do. From the Midwest, we got Prince George, BC in the chat. We got Portland, Oregon. We got people all over the world. Lots of Edmonton as well. Great to have you all here. I'm starting to have a bad feeling about them pulling this off. The later it gets, definitely the longer I have a feeling that we're not going to see a launch here this evening, but we'll wait and see. I appreciate that we at least have this live view here. Kenneth, it looks like a ballistic missile. I think it just looks like a big bullet. Really long... Excuse me. Really long bullet. Take an air bubble and go the wrong way? Never fun. Rick's asking, are Astra rockets reusable or ever planned to be? No, they are not a reusable rocket. But they do hope to launch one every day, so they're going to have to crank these out really fast. But no, not a reusable rocket. Liberty Dude, this is a stream of a miniature set in Zach. This is a stream of a miniature set in Zach's back. This is my backyard. Surprise. April Fools. This is all fake. I hired NASA Spaceflight. I hired all the Astra team. No. It's a small set. Honestly, that launch site could fit in my backyard. I have a pie-shaped lot. You could fit this in my backyard. Actually, with room to spare. So, maybe one day. Sloth Rope, do they have plans to make the rocket bigger or staying small for this rocket? So this one, they plan to stay smaller. They have not really talked a lot about it, but obviously all rocket companies generally do want to get bigger eventually, either to be able to carry just a little bit more payload weight to bigger orbits or lower orbits with a lot more payload, or they may scale up completely to an even bigger scale rocket like we're seeing with Electron with Rocket Lab, with their Neutron, which then goes from something like this scale to competing with the Falcon 9. So we'll see what happens, but definitely something that will continue there. The Astra 3 rocket on your screen built very similarly to Starship, with aluminum, though, instead of stainless. Aluminum made into rings, welded together, and stacked just like a Starship. Yes, they would be spending a lot to do it over and over and over and over again to have them launching every day. Bryce is saying if there's no launch, their stock will crash. Plenty of companies have succeeded. This is only their fourth launch attempt, fifth iteration of this rocket, so they are still quite early. I'd say there is some forgiveness within their stock and their community, but they definitely need to start proving and not having the same issues. And to me, this is more concerning that they're seeing all these consistent holds. It's very much feeling almost like a New Shepard launch, where we're used to them 5 minutes hold, then we sit for 45 minutes, and then we launch, and we sit for 10 minutes, and then we things like that. So that's what Astra's feeling like a little bit, is that we're just used to seeing delays in the timeline and delays in the holds, but they are still new. So we'll give them some hope. Currently, you guys are thinking 22% of you think we're going to see a scrub. 56% think successful, and there is 22% of you, think we're going to see a failure. 6% think on the pad or liftoff, and 16% during the flight. So it'll be very interesting to see what has to go. I know some people talking about could we strap on some side little boosters to this. That's a great question. Excuse me, that we'll have to try to ask Astra at some point in the future. We're going to take a few minutes, listen into the live comms with NASA Spaceflight as they answer some questions, see if we have any updates on the rocket. But stay with us right here on the launch pad. And we check in, and there's nothing. Static of the rocket. So we'll leave that audio up for a little bit, see if we hear them come back on with maybe an update from Mission Control. Leave the side gate open, says Liberty Dude. I can't. There's too much snow. The gate won't open now. Greetings from Juneau, Alaska. Wondering if we will see this rocket. So Juneau, I have to actually double check where Juneau is. I don't know Alaska well enough. In the chat, where is Juneau in relation to Anchorage? It's probably a really bad question to ask, but sorry, I don't know where it is. We'll give you an idea where we're launching from, though. We're launching off the Kodiak Island from the town of Kodiak. We'll pull this up on our screen here for you guys so you can have an idea where we're launching from. Here is Kodiak, on the island of Kodiak. And we can zoom out here, give you an idea for it. And if we look to the north, that's where you're going to see Anchorage up here. So they're launching out of Kodiak. They are going to be launching pretty much just straight this way, from what we can tell, straight to the south there, to follow along, kind of down this way, to follow along the coastline, with the splashdown zone kind of down here around Eureka to San Francisco, so Northern California. Looked like where their splashdown zone was.
And if you are still with us here, we're at T-minus 30 minutes, and if you're just joining us, we've been holding for a little bit as teams evaluated an upper stage system. We're getting word now that teams are getting close to resuming the countdown, so we're going to keep listening into the countdown net for them to make that call out, and we'll have a new T0 shortly for today's launch attempt. Again, if you're just joining us, we are getting close to resuming the countdown and releasing this hold, so stay tuned and we're going to listen in.
That's some great news then, that they are getting ready to resume that count. We are keeping a listen into that. We again want to just say thank you to NASA Spaceflight and Astra Space for allowing us other creators to be able to get access to this footage and offer kind of our version of coverage and commentary and observations of what has happened here this evening. We have been in a hold for about at least 20-25 minutes, I believe. Where are we at? What time is it? We've been in a hold a lot longer than that. We've been in a hold about 40-50 minutes, it looks like, at this point. So we've got quite a bit of time that we've been holding. But we're glad to have you all here with us and asking some great questions. If you have more, send those into the chat. You can tag us at the launch pad. And we'll
This is Astra Flight on countdown. Clock has resumed at T-minus 30 minutes. We are picking back up the procedure at step 106. At this time, FTS, please verify mission data load values are ready to be loaded onto the AFTU. Run CAS software as required.
Mission data loads are loaded. CAS software is running on both AFTUs.
Copy, thank you. Safety, please confirm you have all guests and Astra personnel accounted for at launch site Kodiak.
Safety can confirm all guests in safety town.
And all personnel are in a safe location.
Safety can confirm.
GNC, please confirm for me that we are still good on colas and blackouts for our current T0 time.
Confirm, still good on blackouts and colas.
Thank you. RCO, flight on countdown. At this time, Astra would like to request power on transmitter and enable tone A.
This is RCO, that's in work.
We are listening into the control net. T-minus 28 minutes, 44 seconds and counting.
This is RCO, carrier up, tones up.
Copy, thank you. Safety, please verify signal strength and good power up.
Safety can confirm good signal strength and power up.
Tango and AV1 rocket support cart, please enable the FTS.
AV1 rocket support cart, FTS enabled.
Safety, please verify FTS is enabled and nominal at this time.
Safety can confirm.
RCO, flight on countdown. Astra FTS is enabled on the vehicle currently.
This is RCO, copy.
And as you can see, we have resumed the countdown. We're now at T-minus 28 minutes and counting, and we have a new T0 of 11:10 p.m. Pacific time. Teams have successfully evaluated the upper stage issue and have decided to proceed with the countdown. Exciting news for today's launch attempt. In the meantime, as we get closer to the business end of the countdown, let's dive back into some questions here.
So if you're just joining us, though, welcome here to the launch pad. We were in a hold for T-minus 30 minutes and holding for quite a while, and we have finally resumed that count. Teams were working on the second stage of the Astra rocket. We never really had a full detail on what they were working on, what the issue was, but they have now resumed that count, coming down to T-minus 27 minutes, 20 seconds, and counting. So great to see that clock resume. Some excitement in the chat there as well. But we will be continuing with this. If you guys have questions, take a moment, let us know in the chat. Also share out the broadcast, let people know that the count is continuing. It's been a longer one. We've been live 2.5 hours at this point, and we went live 30 minutes late because of a delay. So definitely about 2 hours overdue of the expected launch time of tonight's rocket launch with Astra, but we're glad that you guys have stuck it out with us and having answered some of your guys' questions. Deepak, I own Astra stock and Rocket Lab for a few weeks. One has to be a winner or both. Absolutely. Hopefully both. But we wish Astra a good launch here tonight, as this is their 4th orbital test and 5th version of this vehicle that they've been trying to get to orbit. So that's what we're hoping to see here. DJ saying, if Astra makes it to orbit, will they be the fastest company to do so? How long did it take SpaceX or Rocket Lab to reach orbit? That's a great question, and I'm wondering if the Discord knows. I don't have that one off the top of my head. I'll see if I can find out for you here. With the power of the internet. Let's see here. Rocket Lab was founded in 2006, which is 15 years ago. Their first orbital flight... It was a while. They launched a Atia-1 sounding rocket in November 2009, which did reach space. The payload was not recovered as it was an instrumental dart and the payload was ballistic. So that was June, July, August, September, October, November. That's like 5 months. That was a short amount of time that they did get to an orbit, or got into space. I don't have confirmation if that was an actual orbit. So that's a good question. And SpaceX was probably close to that same amount of time. I mean, depends if you're talking which rocket. Are you talking just their company in general, or are you talking the development of each individual one? So we'll hopefully see a successful flight here, counting down T-minus 24 minutes, 24 seconds to liftoff of the Astra 3 rocket from pad 3B at the Pacific Spaceport in Kodiak, Alaska. Yes, there were two versions before this of the Astra rocket. This is Astra Rocket 3. It doesn't even have a name. It's just Astra Rocket 3, and this is the fifth one. So they are still working through that development. They have 100 employees. It was incorporated in 2016 by Chris Kemp and Adam London, formerly known as in media as the Stealth Space Company, that ended up becoming Astra Space Inc. They are working on that there. Their first two rockets, Rocket 1 and Rocket 2, were test vehicles without payloads. Although those launches were reported to be failures, they have continued working on Rocket 3. So they're still trying to get up to space, and they are working on it there. They are also hoping to launch what they're developing, which is a satellite bus for customer payloads. And they're planning on launching those prototypes starting in 2022 and customer service in 2023. Awesome. Thank you, Colin. Appreciate that. SpaceX was founded in 2002, first launched in 2004, Orbit and Falcon 1 with 2006. Great to have that here. Metal's asking, does NASA oversee this company in any way or have anything to do with Astra? No, they are a totally separate company. They are just like SpaceX or Rocket Lab, totally separate. NASA could buy missions from them in the future, but Astra is alone there. Looks like it's going to fall over. The strong back doesn't give much look of support for it, but it is offering a little bit there. Mars is saying it's been a long night for the Alaska Astra watchers. That it has. Awesome, Justin. Yeah, we've been watching. I've got the eclipse pulled up myself and keeping an eye on that as well. Elon Musk says 4 years. Elon Musk, one of these days, it's going to seem like you are the real Elon Musk, but you're not verified. I want to try to get verified. But you can see on your screen a breakdown there. Let's take a listen in and see what they're talking about with the structure of the Astra 3 rocket.
We'll start from the left, which is the bottom end of the rocket, and we'll work our way up to the right. So the first section you see on the left is the engine bay, and you can kind of see peeking out 3 of our 5 Delphin first stage engines. So those each produce 6,500 pounds of thrust, and they are electric pump-fed engines, so the engine bay contains those pumps, the batteries that power them, and the connections to the first stage system. So the largest section, that's our first stage, which is consists of a LOX tank, the liquid oxygen tank at the top, and then the fuel tank at the bottom, which is RPX, essentially a form of kerosene. Then continuing to move to the right, the kind of cone-shaped segment, that is what we call the inner stage, and that essentially is the housing for a lot of our avionics. The upper stage engine and that long nozzle extension piece fit inside the inner stage. And then moving up to the final section, you see the long black nozzle of our upper stage ether engine, which is a pressure-fed engine also powered by LOX and RPX, which produces 740 pounds of thrust. Then the 2 spheres, those are our upper stage tanks. And then on top, you can see our payload adapter plate, which will have a payload on top. Again, for tonight's mission, we have a test payload that will not be deployed. And finally, the 2 halves kind of floating above and below the upper stage, those are the fairings. And we remove those to install the payload and then reinstall those 2 fairing halves together.
There we go. As we go through the countdown, we're under 20 minutes and counting now. We're going to listen into the countdown net as the teams are getting through some milestones as we get closer to launch.
For launch.
Stand by on that flight.
Understood.
We do expect the terminal count to begin at T-minus 15 minutes, so about 4 minutes from now. Again, we do want to thank NASA Spaceflight and Astra Space for the footage here today and authorizing content creators to be allowed to rebroadcast with specific rules and licensing, which we do have. So we are following those guidelines for
As
this
GNC
evening.
evaluates, we're going to finish out our igniter checks at step 134. Tango, please, on the buttons interface, toggle spark for 30 seconds.
Copy, spark coming on in 3, 2, 1. Spark off.
Dolphin, please confirm results.
Spark current looked nominal. However, can I request an additional spark check after purges?
Copy that. Tango, can you please run an igniter purge for 2 seconds on all 5 igniters?
And work. Starting with Alpha, working to Echo.
And as we're now approaching T-minus 17 minutes to launch, one of the next things that we'll see is a test of our
Purges
water
complete.
deluge
Good
system
to start spark.
in the next couple of
Go ahead.
moments.
Spark on. Spark off.
They're doing some testing of the launch complex and the sparklers and some of the purging there. We're going to keep listening into that mission control comm as they go. This rocket is made out of aluminum, very similar to Starship, where they make the rings and then weld them together. About 43 feet tall, with 2 stages and that payload fairing on the top. Launching about 50 kilograms, we believe, into orbit here. Can launch more, depending on the orbit. If you go to astra.com, you can see a breakdown of that there. Like we spoke earlier, they're launching 50 kilograms tonight. That's not the capacity of Astra, but tonight's mission's capacity. Currently sitting T-minus 15 minutes, 50 seconds. We do expect the terminal count to begin at T-minus 15 minutes, along with a water deluge system test, which we did hear them talking about just a moment ago. Video that call for terminal count any moment. T-minus 15 minutes and counting.
And we just crossed that T-minus 15 minute mark. We are expecting to potentially be in a hold for a few minutes as we wait for wind data, and that's probably the reason why the deluge, the water system test, has been held off for a little while.
We're going to keep listening into the countdown net, and we will have more updates for you as soon as we have them.
We're going to keep listening in. We're going to pull up the weather that we're seeing here with current information, getting updated every about minute or so for the Pacific Spaceport. Looking at the wind trends as well. We can pull this down just a little bit further for you guys. That wind trend at the bottom left of your screen. Currently trending in the 10 to 15 mile per hour range there. A live look back at the pad.
All right, and we are holding at T minus 13 minutes and 47 seconds as we look at that wind data.
There we go. Another hold at the count.
We're
this time
looking
to
at
look at
potentially
wind.
a 10-minute hold.
Okay. At least we know it's a shorter hold here, possibly 10 minutes to get some updated wind weather forecasting, as they do want to have that those conditions just right. But at this point, we are in another hold, counting down, holding at T minus 13 minutes 47 seconds. We were expecting at T minus 15 minutes them to enter their terminal count, as well as testing that water deluge system. As we have not seen that, that is why they're entering a hold, as they don't want to progress into the count because they'll have other things to do in the count, but they need to finish the first things first. So we got a little bit of time to go. If you are new, take a moment, engage that like and subscribe button. It really does help us out. I'm going to throw it out there. Let's see. Can we hit 11,500 subscribers tonight? 11.5? I think you guys can do it. You guys have been awesome. And let's just see what you guys can do. If you're new here to the launch pad, it's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow. We believe explorers can both be here on Earth and up in space, and we believe space is better together. So we invite you to be part of our crew by being active in the chat, subscribing, joining over on our Discord, and going from there. Tonight's payload is a mass simulator for the Space Force. This is the second of their 2 demo flights with Astra. The payload will not be deployed, as they don't want to create any other space junk while in orbit. There's enough junk up there. So they will be able to deorbit their garbage there. The first stage will splash down.
As you've seen, we are still
into
in
the
a hold
Pacific.
right now at T-minus 13 minutes 47 seconds. Teams are waiting for some wind
On
data.
countdown, we're gonna
In
run
the
our
meantime, since
gravity
we think
water
this might
test
be
at
about a
this time.
10-minute hold or so, we'll take some questions in the meantime. We got one here asking about the upper stage engine. Carolina, is it the same as the sea level engine, or with just a more vacuum optimized nozzle, or is it a completely different engine?
They're pretty different. The first stage engine, the Delphin engine, and the upper stage Ether engine are pretty different from one another. So I know it's pretty common for upper stage engines to be slightly modified versions of the boost stage engines, but in our case, they're pretty different.
Next question asks, where is mission control located for this launch? Is it in Kodiak?
Our mission control is actually here in Alameda, California, which is our headquarters, and it's one of the things that keeps us as nimble as possible. There you see the mission control camera that's right behind where we're coming to you from. So we send a very small team up to Alaska with the vehicle, and we keep most of our team here back at headquarters.
And this is, of course, the headquarters building where the rocket is also built, correct?
That's right. We, here at our campus in Alameda, we build and we do a lot of our engine testing as well. And it helps us stay fast to do everything as much as we can under one roof.
How long does it take for the rocket to get from the factory here in Alameda to Kodiak, for example, for launch?
Yeah, so that can depend on the mode of transportation, and it also depends on the shipping schedule and what boat we can make. But it generally takes about a week for all of our equipment to make it from Alameda over road and boat to Alaska. But a lot of our equipment can actually be flown for maximum speed, and in which case it can be there in a matter of hours.
Another question from chat asking if this launch is successful, what is next for Astra?
Well, hopefully more launches, but we'll keep our eyes focused on tonight's launch of LV0007, and you can follow us on Twitter at Astra or visit our website for more information from our blog posts, press releases, and SEC filing for more information on Astra's future plans.
Next question asking if the ground team, well, we just looked at mission control a little bit a second ago, does the ground team have any control of the vehicle after launch other than FTS activation?
Right. Our vehicle, once it launches, is being flown by itself by the algorithms developed by our flight software and our guidance teams. So aside from our flight safety systems, which we will use in the event that the rocket is off course, everything after launch is being done by the vehicle itself.
Our next question asking, how does Astra tackle water noise suppression?
Yeah, so one of the things that you will usually see, I think we saw a smaller version of it while we were just going through some of these questions. It's a bit hard to see, but we do have a water system around the base of our rocket that is primarily for fire suppression, but it also serves a purpose of noise suppression as well. So we do have a water system there to make sure that we don't light anything that we're not supposed to be lighting after launch.
Gotcha. And yeah, we might have caught a glimpse of that as we're getting in the area of the countdown where they do a deluge test. So we're still in a hold right now. 13 minutes 47 seconds is where the countdown clock is, and we're waiting for another update. We're waiting on wind data primarily, as making sure the winds are acceptable for launch. So we're going through some questions in the meantime. And the next question is from Alex asking, wouldn't it be easier to get to orbit if you launched closer to the equator?
Yeah, launch sites generally help determine which kind of orbits the payload can reach as well. And in the case of launching from Kodiak, many higher inclination and polar orbits are actually easier to reach than launching from the equator. And so the choice of launch site has to do with the mission itself as well.
Next question from Matthew asking, what is the launch trajectory of this rocket?
And I think we've got a map to show what the launch trajectory is. So we'll fly out south over the Pacific Ocean, and you can see that we'll see that trajectory once the rocket clears the pad.
And if you're just joining us, welcome here to the launch pad, our live coverage of Astra's test flight here tonight. We are in a hold, T-minus 13 minutes 47 seconds and counting. Are we seeing the water deluge maybe a little bit? Not yet. But they are doing some testing there. They did enter another hold. We were expecting to be about 10 minutes, so we've got a couple more minutes left in that as they were waiting for some updated weather and wind reports there. But current temperatures down at the launch site and wind conditions there, minus 6 degrees Celsius to minus 5 to 6. Which is 22 to 23 degrees Fahrenheit. Talking in the chat, here in Edmonton last year, we reached minus 67 degrees Fahrenheit with our wind chill. Only for a couple of days, but it did happen. It's a lot of fun in the winter when you can go out and you take boiling water, and you don't do this. Don't ever do it, but you see people do it in the news. Boiling water, and you throw it in the air, and before it leaves your glass, it's snow. That's how cold it is. And if you take a deep breath, you can kind of frost freeze your lungs. It's an experience. No one likes it, but currently sitting on a hold. Let's listen into the mission control. Maybe they're saying an update.
Why not kind of situation. There was a big box of googly eyes around the office one day, and quite a few things got some eyeballs there.
Alright, if you're just joining us, we're in a hold right now. Teams here in Mission Control at Alameda are looking at wind data and making sure that that is acceptable for launch. We're standing by for a new target T0 time. In the meantime, if you have questions, please tag us at NASA.
They're continuing that hold. No update there from Mission Control as they continue there. Turned up the audio a little bit. There we go. Let's make a little adjustment. There we go. But hopefully we will see this rocket liftoff here. Based on really rough data, I think we have about 45 minutes or so, maybe a little less, left in the window, based on when they said we have about 90 minutes roughly. So we do have a time limit that they can launch here today. So they are keeping an eye, obviously, on that as they have 13 minutes in the count. So the longer they hold, the closer they get to where they're going to run out of time. So they're monitoring that. We're just not sure of an exact window for today's flight. So we'll be interested to see what occurs there. If you're just joining us, though, take a moment, send in a question. Glad to answer those live. Also, make sure you engage that subscribe button. We invite you to be part of our crew in that way. We are also talking a little earlier about our holiday collection has dropped. We know a lot of new people jumping in the chat, so I'll mention it really quickly here. You can get your Hoppy Xmas, your Ugly Starbase, or your Deck the Halls with Rockets t-shirts, sweaters, and hoodies over on our Etsy shop there. If you use promo code LAUNCHDAY, you get 10% off everything in the shop. And that all goes to help support getting the better camera gear and lots of things for you guys to have the best possible live coverage of all of these rocket launches from launch sites around the world. Currently sitting at T-minus 13 minutes 47 seconds and holding until launch of the Astra 3 rocket from Launch Pad 3B at Kodiak, Alaska. Let's listen back into the live stream, see some more questions, and hopefully an update from Mission Control. You can see there the Astra 3 rocket sitting out on its pad. Keep in mind this rocket is about 43 feet tall, or 13 meters. Two-stage rocket with a small fairing, holding a payload simulator for today's test mission. Elon Musk's asking if you had to choose, would you prefer somewhere hot all year round or somewhere cold all year round if you had to pick one place? Let's hear what you guys would say in the chat. I would pick medium, but I would say I don't like breathing in the cold weather, but you can dress for cold. Hot, you get to a point where you're just so hot that you can't do anything else. So I would a medium, but if I had to, a cold. And when I say hot,
we're
like
still in a hold at
plus
T-minus
20,
13
30,
minutes and
okay.
47
After
seconds,
that,
but we've
forget
just gotten word that the weather data that we were waiting on is looking favorable, and we expect to be resuming the countdown any moment now. So thanks for sticking with us through this hold, but we are hoping that we will be out of it soon and on our way to orbit shortly.
That's some great news there that they're getting ready to resume that count as that wind is looking favorable. Had a question come in, what's the advantage of launching from Alaska? Launching into a polar orbit, being able to launch over water to the south straight into a polar orbit of a wide variety of inclinations is definitely a huge benefit. We'll pull up the map here of Kodiak one last time while we wait for that T0 to resume, or countdown to resume and a new T0 to be set. But this is Kodiak, Alaska here. They're launching from about here. And if you zoom out to the rest of North America, my cursor is going to stay right there. Tonight they're launching in an inclination kind of this way. That's where they're going. But they have an inclination that they could launch this way. They could launch probably over that way if they really needed to. But they've got quite a bit of angles that they can launch. But if you want a polar orbit, you want to be in an orbit that goes kind of at this angle. So being able to launch from there is a lot better than being able to launch from
countdown,
here.
Entering terminal count at procedure step 141 at this time. Tango in AV1 manage power systems. Please ensure guidance power system authority is toggled off.
Confirmed guidance system power authority is off.
In VB1 turn on off PDBs, please run a GNC self-test. GNC call out when complete.
GNC self-test started.
FTS, please confirm Astra FTS is still enabled on the vehicle.
FTS is still enabled on the vehicle.
Tango in fuel 4 operate toggle full.
Fuel 4 operate full.
And as you see, we have entered the terminal count. We're at T-minus 14 minutes and 33 seconds and counting. The new T0 is 11:25 p.m. Pacific time. Now that we are into the terminal count, we're going to look at an overview of the flight profile and what we'll expect to see once we have liftoff here from Kodiak. Carolina?
Sure. So we'll start from the bottom and work our way up with that mission timeline. A few seconds before T0, the engines will ignite. If all is good, we will send a signal to the hold down release mechanisms on that launcher system to release the rocket, and we will have liftoff at T0. Just a few seconds later, we will pitch over the rocket, and then our next objective is max Q at 1 minute and 10 seconds. Following max Q, which is the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure on the vehicle, we'll be looking for main engine cutoff, or MECO, at 2 minutes and 50 seconds. And then a few things happen in pretty quick succession, which is fairing separation, stage separation, and then the upper stage ether engine will light at 3 minutes and 5 seconds. If we meet all of those things, then we'll be in space, and it will be very exciting. And then the ether engine will burn for a little over 5 minutes before second engine cutoff, or SECO. And our final step in the mission will be to send a signal to simulate payload deployment. Again, we have a test payload on this flight which will not be deployed, but we will monitor to see if the signal to simulate the deployment is successful at 8 minutes and 40 seconds. Again, our objective today is to reach orbit and successfully complete all of these steps on our mission timeline.
Yeah, and so what is coming up next? We're at T-minus 12.5 minutes and counting. We are coming up on the next big milestone, which is the go, no-go poll for launch. So we're going to listen into the countdown net as the teams get up to that and poll go, no-go for launch.
Toggle off and deactivate. Fuel 4 operate.
Fuel 4 operate deactivated.
Fuel 3 supply.
Deactivated.
Fuel 1 FE 300 upper fill.
Deactivated.
Fuel 1 FE 200 first fill.
Deactivated.
AV1 radios.
AV1 radios deactivated.
AV1 rocket support cart.
AV1 rocket support cart deactivated.
T-minus 12 minutes and counting. Waiting for that final go, no go. Just joining us, welcome to our live launch coverage of Astra 3. We're currently sitting T-minus 11 minutes, 30 seconds until liftoff. Had a number of very long holds here this evening. Recently, we were holding T-minus 15 minutes for the wind forecast update. Things are progressing well, so they reset the count and are now progressing through those final 15 minutes. The rocket is now in terminal count and is progressing towards a final
Flight on
go, no
countdown.
go.
Astra is scrubbing at this time.
Oh, we got a scrub.
And as you've just heard, unfortunately, with just a few minutes left in our countdown for this evening, we unfortunately need to scrub tonight's launch attempt. We'll provide more information as we can share the cause of that scrub. But the good news is that we have another opportunity to launch tomorrow. So please join us again at the same time tomorrow. Nominal T0 time would be 9 p.m. Pacific time, with the live stream beginning at T-minus 60 minutes.
Yeah, from NASA Spaceflight, a big thank you to Astra for trusting us.
And just like that, we've got a scrub. We were progressing so well to the launch, and we have a scrub. We've been here for 3 hours, and unfortunately, a scrub for the evening. for it. There goes people. There goes my time. If you want to make up for some of your time, feel free to join the Discord. We're gonna be hanging out. We'll play some Kerbal and Minecraft and stuff and hang out. Talk about tonight. We'll be in the live comms or gaming comms, so you can join us in there. If you enjoy space, it's a really great community. Before you all head out as well, take a moment, check out the Etsy shop, pick up a holiday shirt or something, and that all goes towards helping us for what we do. But thank you guys for all being here. We'll wrap up with a few last questions so you can keep sending those in. But unfortunately, we do have a scrub after all of that here this evening. To the 22% of the 1,800 of you that voted, we were going to end in a scrub. That is what we have here today. But that is just how it unfortunately crumbles. We get to do this all again here tomorrow, unless for some reason they have another delay. But that is kind of just how these things go. Definitely as their second and final of 2 test flights scheduled for the Space Force, better to have them go nominally and not have any issues there. But definitely something we want to see go well, and we wish that they have a successful flight here with their 4th launch attempt. Before you guys wrap up, make sure you engage that subscribe button so you never miss another live launch coverage of not only Astra, we cover everyone, SpaceX, Rocket Lab, Virgin, Blue Origin, I know I said it, and all the others, as well as Japan, South Korea, and many of the others that you didn't know are probably launching rockets. It's our mission to inform and inspire the explorers of tomorrow, and we believe that space is better together. So we're glad to have you guys along the way with us. We're going to jump over to the Discord, hang out in there for a bit. For those not knowing, Discord is a social media kind of platform that you can join. What I can do is I can actually just pull it up here on the stream really quickly for you guys. I know some people have asked before, what's Discord? So let me pull that up here very briefly. You guys can have an idea of what it looks like and kind of how you can join the conversation on other days. And we'll move my camera out of the way here really briefly. So if you do click the link that's in the chat there and interested in joining Discord's kind of an online chat area, but also audio area that we sometimes go when we're doing our editing. If you're a YouTube or Patreon member, it's where all of our behind the scenes access is. Welcome to all of you that are just joining right now. But here over on our Discord, there's lots of different sections that you can join and being able to check out depending what we all do. So we have our live chat where people are talking. We've got our newsroom where you guys can send in news tips as things are happening, and lots of other sections. A bunch of people hanging out over in the live comm. So that's where I'm going to be heading as we wrap up here for the evening. It's free to join. Some of those rooms are not available unless you are a member, but we're glad to have all of you here with us. But we believe space is better together, so we're glad to have you guys along the journey with us. But that's going to do it for us here tonight. We'll be back live tomorrow, hopefully for another attempt of the launch of Astra 3. But for now, this is Zach with the Launchpad signing off. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow.